So let me tell you an incredible story about the dangers of fracking and the destruction of the health of a family and how, in the end, they very well may get screwed. The Parr family in Texas, for 3 years, were incredibly sick. They had chronic rashes, bloody noses, muscle spasms, swollen lymph nodes that stuck out like ping pong balls, and they had these tremendous central nervous system failures and problems. Their central nervous systems just, havoc was wreaked on them. So they would shake, their eyesight and hearing would come and go, there was dizziness and flu-like symptoms, and even vomiting foam. It wasn't just regular vomiting, which is bad enough, but they were vomiting foam. Like, what the fuck is that even about? So it's just a horrendous mix of hell-on-earth-like symptoms. So they went to the doctor, and after a while, they found out that, quote, the verdict was that it was something in the environment, like neurotoxins in their blood, that matched chemicals used in natural gas production and fracking that was leading to the problems. So come to find out, there were about 20 wells that set up shop within 1.5 miles of their houses. And they were just constantly, 24/7, spewing this unsafe material into the air. Just insane chemicals that should be nowhere near humans. It was just getting spewed in the air. Now let me refresh your memory for those of you who don't know what's actually in fracking fluid and what's subsequently in the air as a result of this. There's methanol, there's benzene, there's diesel fuel and lead and hydrogen fluoride and sulfuric acid. There's all other types of corrosives and poisons and toxins. Formaldehyde is in this stuff. And there's a bunch of carcinogens and even a bunch of unknown chemicals that we have no idea how they affect humans. But even the chemicals I just listed that we know are in the fracking fluid, those are disastrous for humans. So they went to court and they won $2.95 million. So that seems like a victory, right? And this, of course, could help them with medical costs, and they could possibly move with the money, which I guess they're kind of forced to do at this point. And it's a way to compensate for the immeasurable damage that they went through when some fucking greedy-ass company just set up shop right by them and said, fuck it, if they get sick, whatever happens, happens. Well, that money may be taken away, because the company, Aruba Petroleum, is appealing, and if it gets to the Texas Supreme Court, they're almost certainly fuckington, okay? They are dunzo if it gets to the Supreme Court. Now, why is that? That seems like a really weird thing to conclude in advance, right? Well, it turns out that the Texas Supreme Court, 85% of the time, sides with corporations. You have to understand that not only is that a tremendous percentage, it is way above and beyond any other conservative states that are also incredibly corporate-friendly, like Alabama and Louisiana. There was one, I think it was Alabama, there was one example where one year, it might have been 2012, it was only a 50% win rate for the corporations. Texas, it's consistently high. 85% win rate for them, okay? So when we dig a little deeper to find out why it is that the corporations always win and the little guy who may have a problem, they always get screwed over, it turns out that there are a few reasons. One of them is that Texas is one of the 7 states where the Supreme Court judges are elected. Now that on its face, of course, isn't necessarily a bad thing, but naturally in Texas, if you have an election, what's going to happen? These are all going to be fucking Louis Gohmert clones. They're going to be insanely right-wing people who are rather irrational. So that's one problem, but the bigger problem is they take donor money. Quote, the Texas Republican Party has given a combined total of more than $7 million to judicial elections in the last 16 years. Koch Industries has given nearly $8 million over the last 19 years, and Valero Energy has given more than $11 million in the last 19 years. So, in other words, these judges who are responsible for hearing cases about how somebody got fucked over by big oil and natural gas companies, they are paid by big oil and natural gas companies. So the chance of this poor family of winning, the chances of them winning, next to nothing if it appeals all the way to the Supreme Court, which it almost certainly will. So what we have is a situation where big oil, natural gas, fracking companies, they can come into a place, set up shop, not tell you anything, pump tremendous amounts of terrible, poisonous, toxic, carcinogenic chemicals into the air. You can get incredibly sick, okay? And then when you say, hey man, kind of fucked up what you just did, can I at least get a little bit of money to maybe move out of the area and pay for my medical bills? They say, no, fuck you. We're allowed to come in here and get you incredibly sick, and you're on your own. Think about how insane that is, man. Think about how insane that is. Essentially, what would happen in that case is, it's like a company or your neighbor or whoever decides to just come into your house and they start pumping cancer-causing chemicals all over the place. It's like your neighbor just comes in and smokes in your face 24/7 all the time. Or they go in and dump diesel fuel on your floor. Or they just spew benzene or formaldehyde or whatever kind of insane... They come in and just start spraying pesticides from Monsanto in your face, right? That's what this is like. That's what this is like. Somebody just brazenly violating your individual rights and freedoms, right? Because, look, they're just flat out poisoning you, right? Somebody violates that, and then, well, what happened? I took money from the company that's poisoning you, so I side with them. This is justice? No, this is insanity, man. This is insanity. Number one, they need to change that system in Texas, how, these judges take donor money because then they're going to serve the donors. That system has to change, okay? 100%, no question about it. But number two, we shouldn't have even gotten to this point with fracking where it's so unregulated that shit like this can happen. The federal government, act, motherfuckers. EPA, act, motherfuckers. What are you doing? Did you know there's something under fracking law that's known as the Halliburton loophole? You know what that is? Halliburton went to Dick Cheney and said, look, dog, we really don't want to have to abide by those pesky Clean Water and Clean Air Act laws. So give us an exemption. And what did they do? Cheney and Bush said, you got it. So now they could pollute groundwater all they want. They could pollute the air all they want, and not an issue. Not an issue. They don't have to suffer any consequences. They don't have to abide by regulations. We need to reverse this. This is madness. We've become so pro-corporate and so pro-billionaire in the United States of America that we're actually deciding it might be okay for companies to flat out poison and kill people.